Maneva na sema PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV de osia dem yopo.
You are once again welcome to PENDREAM TV, the only channel that brings you the best and latest updates in politics. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like and also share to other members to watch as well. You can equally leave a comment at the comment section after watching, or send us a voice note on our WhatsApp number, which is 0277128777. Thank you. Today I want you to join me listening to a powerful speech, a speech of hope, which some dignitaries have shown so much hope in Mahama and think is the blessed one to reset Ghana and liberate Ghana from the poverty and the cankers Ghana have went through in the past. These people are nobody but Dr. Yamson, Ishmael, and Dr. Amoako. Without much ado, I would like you to join me listening to what they said and the belief they have in Mahama to reset the country for a better Ghana as a nation. Without much ado, join me listening to what they said into detail. Thank you.
Highly revered country. Your Excellency, this is definitely not the Ghana that our forefathers fought for, and definitely not the Ghana that succeeding generations have toiled and hoped for. Your Excellency, someone must reset the destiny of Ghana, and it can only be you. Everywhere in the world that economic transformation has taken place, only one individual has led the charge, and the Lord has blessed you with the wisdom to take on that task. The task to liberate Ghana from economic mismanagement and corruption, to reset Ghana and put it on a path of sustainable and resilient growth, inclusive development and prosperity for all the citizens of the country. Ghanaians, Your Excellency, are tired of poverty and hardship. I must admit, Your Excellency and distinguished guests, that in the last 68 years of independence, Ghana has also suffered severe disruptions and dislocations from external shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic and major supply chain disruptions following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and now the great disruption originating from the current U.S. administration. We cannot ignore them. But the stark truth is that the overwhelming majority of our problems are homegrown and self-inflicted. Only our leaders and the people of Ghana can and must resolve these problems. Let us take the responsibility of resetting our destiny in our own hands. Your Excellency, the journey to reset Ghana is not going to be easy. It is going to be rough and full of risks and frustrations from within and from outside. However, with the determined leadership that you have promised and ownership from you, you shall succeed. Besides, there are many Ghanaians who are ready to stand with you and to work with you to deliver your bold vision. Like supporters of a well-known football club not to be named, you will never walk alone. This National Economic Dialogue, which you aptly set up as part of a 120-day social contract with the Ghanaian people, among its other objectives, is to set in motion a process of dialogue and consultation on Ghana's present economic development challenges, discuss policy trade-offs, and build consensus around policy reforms that are needed to make Ghana a high, inclusive, and resilient growth economy. It is also intended that the National Economic Dialogue could be structured into a permanent consultative machinery in which the authorities, the private sector, civil society, and international partners regularly discuss socioeconomic and growth challenges, emerging opportunities and risks. Your Excellency, the institutionalization of this process to advance your research agenda will be key to success. There are some who have already concluded that this is also going to be yet another talk shop, and that there will be no follow-through actions. Hence, the commitment to institutional dialogue should be prioritized to take away these doubts. After this plenary session, there shall be 6 breakout sessions which shall take critical look at 6 of the most pressing issues facing Ghana. And by the close of tomorrow, the dialogue will present concrete proposals to assist government with the execution of the reset agenda in order to reshape the future of our country's destiny. Your Excellency, permit me to reiterate that the task of resetting Ghana cannot be delayed. There is no option. We delay it at our own peril. As Brutus says in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, there is a tide in the affairs of men, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune. Omitted all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. That time is now, and the opportunity is here. Failure to act cannot be an option. This bold vision to reset Ghana should rewrite the history of Ghana and Africa and give the future generations to come a lasting hope in our country and in our continent. Finally, Your Excellency, allow me once again to welcome you and the Vice President and all our distinguished invited guests to the 2025 National Economic Dialogue in Accra. I thank you for your attention.
I guess the spontaneity of the applause shows the quality of the work. Let's do it one more time. And Mr. Chair did not work alone. He had a 7-member committee that worked with him. So now that I have the President's attention, I said, Nelson Mandela said it's a long walk to freedom. So it's a very long walk. If we can just support with a longer applause. Thank you, KY, for your hard work for Ghana.
Your Excellency, the President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, members of the Planning Committee, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, all protocols observed. It is my great pleasure and honor to be with you today to help set the scene for our National Economic Dialogue. As many of you know, I've spent my entire career, more than 50 years, in African development. I've had the honor and privilege of working closely with policymakers and leaders across the continent. I'm a proud Pan-Africanist, but first and foremost, I'm a proud Ghanaian. I was 13 years at the time of independence. I grew up with Ghana and have lived through our post-colonial journey, the ups and downs, our successes and failures. My assignment today is to reflect on Ghana's political economy since independence and draw key lessons from our journey to help us forge the road ahead. I'm grateful for the opportunity and hopeful that what we learn over the next 2 days would allow us as citizens, with you at the helm, Your Excellency the President, to truly create the Ghana we want. Nearly 20 years ago, I had the privilege of delivering 3 speeches in the R.P. Balfour Memorial Lecture Series at KNUST, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, During the first speech, I laid out a vision for a transformed Ghana, a Ghana that by 2030 would match where Malaysia stood in 2005. This meant a tenfold increase in per capita income, a rise in life expectancy from 57 to 73 years, and a future where 9 out of 10 Class 1 pupils will reach Class 5 instead of 2 out of 3. A Ghana where higher education flourishes, with 40% of students going to Cairn University and similar institutions to study science, math, and engineering, contributing to the world stock of scientific knowledge and becoming research and managers of our economy. A Ghana where close linkages between government, firms, universities, and other vocational institutes will ensure that the skills students acquire will be more relevant to the current and future demands in the labor market, allowing unemployment rates to fall to just 3% from the estimate of about 20% at the time. I and many of you here have echoed similar visions for decades, a vision that has not yet been realized. I recently read the World Bank's World Development Report on the middle income trap. The report presents a sobering analysis of the challenges confronting nations like ours. It found out that while many countries have progressed from low income to middle income status since 1990, a staggering 108 nations, including Ghana, are stuck in lower middle income category, struggling to break through to higher income status. We may feel a bit of relief in knowing that we are not alone in the struggle to innovate, industrialize, and integrate into global value chains. But we must break this cycle. Ghana's gross national income per capita sat stagnant at less than $400 for almost 40 years. Between 1962 and 1999, but since 2000, it has increased to about $200. This begs the question, why have we stalled? And how can we make today's effort count, recognizing that economic transformation takes decades, not years? But it should not take another 50 years for Ghana to become an upper middle income country. And I hope that President Mahama's reset would include raising our ambitions. We can and must become a developed economy in the next 20 years. It is my firm belief that success hinges on 3 things: visionary leadership, policy continuity and consistency, and a shared responsibility between citizens and their government. Our leaders must possess the vision, skill, and determination to turn political aspirations into economic growth, inclusive prosperity, and lasting human well-being. As we've just said, Kwame Nkrumah embodied all these characteristics. We will do well to learn from his unparalleled record of leadership and vision as we face similar challenges today. On Nkrumah's leadership, Kwesi Botwe, of blessed memory, a friend and mentor to many of us in this room today, and one of our country's longest-serving finance ministers, once reflected that Nkrumah's imprint remains everywhere, in the macroeconomic and real sectors of Ghana's economy, in the banking and insurance industries, and in the country's basic infrastructure. Nkrumah believed in bold, transformative projects, and nothing exemplified this more than the Volta River project. It was the centerpiece of his strategy to industrialize Ghana's economy, providing the energy needed to boost factories, boost industry, and accelerate economic transformation. To me, Kwame Nkrumah was ahead of his time, and the inspiration he engendered and the vision he set forth were unmatched in African history. On January 22nd, on January 2022, 1996, Nkrumah inaugurated the Volta River massive Akosombo Dam, calling it his greatest dreams. 1 month later, he was deposed in a military coup. It may not be fortuitous that this national economic dialogue is taking place on days sandwiched tightly between that of Nkrumah's overthrow and our independence anniversary a few days from today. Kwame Nkrumah's spirit clearly is with us here today. In any case, what followed Nkrumah's overthrow was 15 years of political instability and economic mismanagement, marked by a destructive cycle of coups. When General Rawlings' military regime took over in 1981, Ghana was in a crisis. To his credit, Rawlings stabilized the government after a couple of years, and before long, the economy started to recover. In his address to the opening of the third session of Parliament in 1985, Rawlings presented the first step of Ghana Vision 2020, a framework, quote, to realize the long-term vision of raising Ghana to the ranks of the middle-income countries of the world. At the time, the policy reforms pursued by the government were beginning to stabilize the economy. However, Ghanaians demanding a return to civilian rule rightfully pushed back against the authoritarianism and human rights abuses of the military regime. In response, Rawlings agreed to hold democratic elections in 1992, ushering in Ghana's Fourth Republic. But Rawlings remained skeptical. He feared that economic gains and stability could be compromised by premature democratization, but ultimately had little choice. The move to multi-party democracy system in 1992 split and crystallized our political landscape into two dominant political parties, the National Democratic Congress, or the NDC, and the New Patriotic Party, the NPP. This is where long-term, collectively held vision for Ghana's future began to unravel, and where policy continuity and consistency started to fade. The two parties have traded off the presidency and power with regularity, with the latest transition taking place just 2 months ago. These transfers have been peaceful, earning Ghana the reputation of a beacon of democracy in Africa and increasingly in the world. But our frequent transfers of power, no matter how peaceful, are not anchored in the long-term and widely shared vision. Rather, they have come with interruptions in policy direction and programs, fragmented development efforts, wasted money, and a lack of sustained economic momentum. Intense political polarization has pushed us further and further apart, when progress depends on working closer together. This brings me to the third necessary element for our future success, a shared responsibility between citizens and their government. I applaud President John Maham's vision of resetting Ghana for jobs, accountability, and prosperity as a bold framework to help propel us forward. The next 4 years present a crucial window to lay a strong foundation for the Ghana we want in 2050. The 120-day social contract that President Mahama has laid before us identifies many concrete actions that will help us move forward towards our goals. But A contract can only exist between two or more people or two or more parties. Neither the government nor the people can achieve our vision for a transformed Ghana alone. We as Ghanaian citizens have a responsibility to take up the mantle of accountability and progress if we want to see lasting change. And based on my experience, I must admit, I am concerned, but I'm also hopeful. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, 3 years ago, under my leadership, the African Center for Economic Transformation, in collaboration with Ghana's leading think tanks, policy institutes, and civil society organizations, launched the Compass for Ghana's Political and Economic Transformation, commonly known as the Ghana Compact. Our goal is clear: to identify the structural barriers hindering Ghana's transformation and to define the future we, as Ghanaians, aspire to by 2050. This effort is rooted in a fundamental democratic principle: ultimate power lies with the people. Ghana's transformation depends on its citizens setting a bold vision for the nation and holding governments accountable and themselves accountable for delivering on that vision. The Compass addressed some of our most pressing policy issues. There are 7 core thematic areas: national development planning, fiscal responsibility, youth education and skills, gender equality, private sector development, health and climate change. The Compact is built on analysis from Ghana's leading minds and institutions. It is informed by consultation with all major political parties, traditional and religious leaders, and the cross-section of Ghanaian visionaries. And it fully reflects engagement with citizens across 10 regions of our country to ensure these recommendations are grounded in the daily realities of Ghanaians of all backgrounds. All this effort culminated in the Citizens' Convention in June 2024 at the University of Ghana. It brought together 500 people representing the various stakeholders associated with the Ghana Compact. We convened to create a Citizens' Declaration of a Social Contract with the government of Ghana, or the expectation to guide governance in our country as we approach the 100th year of our independence in 2057. For each of the 7 thematic areas of the Compact that I mentioned, a set of targets and actions to achieve them by 2030 was also identified. The Convention agreed that a robust accountability mechanism must underpin such a transformation agenda, not merely a monitoring tool, but a fundamental framework designed to ensure that the commitments enshrined in the social contract are realized. Such a mechanism will be a way to track, evaluate, and ensure that the fulfillment of these commitments will foster a stronger democratic process, enhance transparency, and rebuild trust between the government and its citizens. Importantly, the Compact emphasized the obligations of all of us as citizens in moving towards a transformed Ghana, underpinned by values such as patriotism, loyalty, honesty, and integrity, as well as civic education that starts early and is adequately funded. At the heart of this, to me, is a shift in our mindset to embrace the African personality that Kwame Nkrumah dreamt of more than 40 years ago when he said, "Africa needs new type of citizen, a dedicated, modest, honest, informed man, a man who submerges himself in the service of nation and mankind, a man who abhors greed and detests vanity, a new type of man whose humility is his strength and whose integrity is his greatest." I'm sure that if Kwame Nkrumah were with us today, will be saddened to see how far we have strayed from this vision. I share his disappointment. But I also know that we can turn this around. And please, allow me to add that I'm grateful to everyone who has engaged in the compact process. Thus far, allowing us to bring concrete citizen-driven solutions to our administration to complement its swift efforts to correct the course we are in. And of course, we will continue our partnership, particularly with the National Demand Planning Commission, under the leadership of the veteran Lee Moore Thompson. Excellencies, I have shared where we have come from, and with the rest of my time today, I would like to look forward, taking lessons from our history and from the Ghana Compact process to help inform what we do next. I will start by highlighting 4 critical areas where the Ghana Compact in the coming months can help take forward the recommendations from this National Economic Dialogue and support the goals and objectives of President Mahama's reset agenda. First is on governance. We need a code of good governance to enhance transparency and accountability in government operations, particularly in procurement and auditing, while fostering active citizen engagement in governance process. The second is on campaign and political party financing. The increasing monetization of our politics has driven incidents of party capture and pervasive corruption, as well as cronyism, leading to poor service delivery and accountability. This is the elephant in the room that we seldom see or talk about at meetings such as the one we are having here today and tomorrow. The third is the fight against galamsey. Today, 60% of our major water bodies are polluted. The most visible consequence of galamsey or illegal mining, or the environmental catastrophe runs deeper than polluted rivers. A 2022 report by the Center for Democratic Development named illegal mining as one of the primary sources of illicit funding for election campaigns and political party financing. And the fourth is the overarching goal of transformation. If we are to reach a middle income status in 20 years or less, we must grow our economy into a highly diversified one that is competitive in export markets, is highly productive in the use of labor and capital, and deploys enhanced technology towards improved well-being of our people. In about 6 months, the Ghana Compact will convene the second Citizens Convention to assess the progress we are making. We also review a public online dashboard to be created in collaboration with the NDPC that will track development progress, including social contract commitments and later government action over the long term, extending beyond this government to future administration. So let me offer the Compact as a platform for engagement between policymakers and citizens going forward. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before I yield the floor to the Finance Minister, I must raise one final forward-looking issue that I am sure is on the minds of President Mahama and Honorable Arthur Forson: how to sustainably finance our transformation. We find ourselves in repeated budget freeze and debt crisis. Agreeing to trade-offs that have eroded our middle class and put our most vulnerable citizens even more at risk. As we approach the conclusion of our 17th IMF bailout early next year, the fundamental question remains: will this be the last, or are we simply paving the way for an 18th bailout or a 19th? Remember, Ghana has had IMF programs for 40 of its 68 years since independence. Therefore, going forward, we must think and act differently about the mix of external financing and domestic resources that are so critical to our development. Let me illustrate with an example. The total amount of $1.7 billion is less than what we spend to subsidize our long-failing electricity sector. It is a staggering comparison. Still, external financing will be an essential piece of our development for the foreseeable future. And this is not without precedence. The East Asian miracle would not have been possible without foreign assistance. Take South Korea, for example. In the 30 years between 1946 and 1976, it received near $6 billion from the US alone, a huge amount at the time, with very few conditions. That allowed the country to define and pursue a homegrown vision and a strategy of its own. Today, South Korea is one of the world's leading economies. But the global landscape is shifting, and we need to shift with this. Recent policy shifts, including those of the Trump administration in the US and other several European countries, have introduced uncertainties into the prevailing development aid architecture. Above all, the global financial architecture is failing to meet Africa's needs. It needs a fundamental overhaul to be fit for purpose for today. Ghana has been part of a strong coalition of countries, institutions, and advocates pushing for African priorities in the global financial system. The coalition has had some success, but we must not wait for the world to solve this problem for us. No country has developed on the back of aid alone. It is time to look inward at how to raise revenues and fund our own development, so that our dependence on external finance does not continue to hold us back. Our private sector can be a key contributor as instruments such as blended finance and public-private partnerships offer great untapped potential. And remittances from the Ghana diaspora have consistently outstripped ODA and FDI flows for many years. Now, underscoring the importance in our financing mix. The upshot of all this is that Ghana needs a comprehensive financing strategy, one that effectively aligns different funding sources to our vision for economic transformation. Such a strategy should include three fundamentals. First, a Ghana Development Finance Platform that will coordinate the flow of development assistance to Ghana, including assessing the progress we are making in our policy reforms and programs, and ensuring that resources are not duplicated, wasted, or misaligned with our developmental vision. Second, a long-term agreement with our major external partners. A particular instructive example of this is the World Bank's agreement with Pakistan. The bank has committed to providing $20 billion in financial support over 10 years, a shift from the traditional short-term partnership approach used in Ghana and other countries. The basis for this longer-term approach in Pakistan is the realization that after the recent crisis, the country needs to break away from its past pattern of stop-and-go reform cycles and instead commit to a credible, more stable developmental course. Third, a comprehensive domestic revenue mobilization plan that curbs illicit financial flows, harnesses remittances, and ensures fair taxation to fuel our public service and investment in our own progress. The overall goal of this strategy will be to mobilize significant increased financing, coupled with rigorous expenditure management in the next 10 years to support our development, underpinned by a strong accountability mechanism. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I hope that over the next 2 days, our discussion will focus on concrete policy reforms, institutional strengthening, the strategic investment to stabilize the economy, drive growth, and create jobs in the medium to long term. I applaud President Mahama for putting the dialogue together at a critical moment in his administration. I'm honored to have been able to contribute to the National Economic Dialogue Committee's work as one of its 8 members. And I salute you, Ishmael, for the National Committee in such a short time. Finally, let me mention Rishi Sharma, an author, fund manager, and columnist for the Financial Times, who wrote a book in 2013 called Breakout Nations, and predicted the countries that will become the next economic miracles. By 2050, African countries made the list. Not South Africa, not Nigeria. Therefore, my question for all of us is a simple one. What would it take for Ghana to become a breakout nation by 2050? It is my hope that this National Economic Dialogue will provide the roadmap. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for staying tuned. PENDREAM TV really appreciates your time on the channel. Once again says, God bless you for the good work you are doing and continue to do for us. And to all our cherished new members, we encourage you to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like and also share to other friends of yours on other platforms to have a feel of what is happening around the political arena. Thank you once again for staying tuned. We have more in stock, by the way, and you cannot afford to lose or mix out any information on this platform. Please do turn the notification bell on. Thank you.
PENDREAM TV now, so far so good. Say open online portal e Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.